Hey guys, what's going on? This is Deadly. Welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video. I'm coming at you live recording. This ain't a post commentary, and we're going to be talking about some weapon modifications. So one of the biggest questions I get during my live stream is my go-to weapons for the current patch. As I'm recording this, I think it's like 0.5, 0.4, 0.8. So I always go for the AK74N or the AKM. Those are my two most popular weapon choices that I use. It's probably the most common weapons that I end up using. I love going out there and using like DVLs and SV98s and AS-Vals and VSS and M4s every now and again. But when I start tilting, if I start dying a lot, I always go back to one of these two weapons, mainly the AK74N or the AKMS or the AKMN. The difference between the AKMS and the AKMN, the AKMN can be fitted with a PSO optic, which you can purchase from level 2 Prapor right here. It's pretty cheap actually for 4X. It's the only optic I forgot to buy. So you just drag it on there. It can be fitted with an it's the only AKM that can be fitted with a PSO. The AKMS can't, but you can fold it up. It takes up less inventory space in your stash. And whenever you're carrying it around. But mainly it's purely for aesthetics, because the stock on the AKMS and the stock on an AK regular, they give you the same benefits. So you're not really gaining or losing anything. You just have the option to fold that. But the recoil is a little insane if you don't have the stock folded, so just a bit of a warning. But that's, you know, that's the purpose of it, right? Is you can fold it in for CQB situations. On me right now, I was just kind of messing around with an AKM. But we'll kind of toss that down here so we can get started. So let's just start playing around with an AK74N. So you buy an AK74N from Prapor. I got all of my mods here. I guess we can go over this first. We have a couple suppressor options here. We have the Hybrid 46, the DTK. Now, the DTK says it can be fitted on both an AK and AKM, but currently in the game, it can only be fitted on an AKM, so be mindful of that. The Muzzle Adapter for the AK74 series, it's supposed to be the same, but it's currently not functioning. Now, the DT, or the Hybrid 46, this is purchased from Peacekeeper, and it works on almost every single weapon in the game, including M4s, and, you know, so it's a safe bet. If you get your hand on one of these, probably, it's a good idea to not sell it, because you'll probably put it on a weapon at some point. It's about 500 USD too, so it's a little bit more expensive. Now, for the AK74, you have three different options, the TG-PA and the PBS-4. These are equivalent in their statistics. I personally like the look of the PBS-4 a little bit more, so I typically go with that option, as you can see down here. You really like the look of it on an AK-74. You can also get the Hexagon. The Hexagon you can purchase from Skier, but it is not as good because you basically lose one more ergonomic point. That's the only difference. So it's pretty minor, but if you're into that sort of thing, these two are technically better. So for the standalone suppressors for the AKM, you have the PBS-1 and the Hexagon. The Hexagon has very little recoil control. So if you're trying to minimize your recoil with the AKM, which should be your primary goal, you're going to want to go with the PBS-1. -4 recoil, -4 ergonomics. So you trade 1 ergonomic for 3 recoil. That's a pretty good trade. So now let's quickly cover some of the compensators. I mainly don't cover the compensators, but the DTK1 is, I believe, the best overall compensator for the AKs. You have this cool little PWS CQB suppressor, which doesn't really get used. I think this is just going to be purely for cosmetic purposes. So if you're not into suppressors, I don't know who isn't right now, this is going to be the muzzle you want to rock. Now we have a few handguards here, not all of them, but we have a few purchasable options. We have the MOE Magpul Handguard, you got the CAA, you get the B10, and you got the what is it called? I actually don't use this one, the M1B. So the M1B is basically similar to a stock AK rail. It doesn't really give you any additional recoil or ergonomics, but it does allow you to mount an optic and can be purchased at lower levels. The B10 and the CAA are pretty much identical, other than the fact that the CAA is a better option for you ergonomics-wise. But the best, and honestly, in my opinion, only option is the Moa Handguard, which I think it needs a nerf because it gives you 15 ergonomics. Now, the only thing about the Moa Handguard that you got to be careful of is it can only be fitted with one vertical grip, or one foregrip, and that is the AFG, the angled foregrip M-lock. But good thing, it's the best in the game. So you can fit the best handguard for your AK with the best foregrip. I think these two items need a little bit of an adjustment just because of how powerful they actually are. In fact, it pretty much makes, if you're actually going to try to make the best weapon possible, it makes the stubby, it makes the UVG, and it makes the RVG pretty redundant for this weapon. Now, the RVG here is really good for an M4, but not the best for an AK. So just kind of keeping that in mind. You also have an AFG regular Maypole angled foregrip here, which is really good, but not as good as the M-lock. So if you don't have access to an Moa handguard, you're going to want to go for the AFG grip. So, and that goes for a lot of other weapons as well. Some weapons, like for example the AKS, can't be fitted with an M-lock, so an AFG is where you want to go. Now for the charging handle, you only have one option. This is an RP1. You can buy this from Skier. For pistol grips, it's really easy. You either go for ergonomics, which is the SAW, or you go for recoil reduction, which is the RK3. The RK3 is the best. Oh, I thought this gave you recoil reduction. Oh, I guess not anymore. Now for pistol grips, you have two options, the RK3 and the SAW. The RK3 gives you 13 ergonomics, the SAW gives you 10. So the RK3 is the better option. You can pick up the SAW though if you're interested for the cosmetic purpose, because you can get that in that weird off gold beige color, the tan color. You can get that from Peacekeeper if you're interested. If you're just looking for pure statistics, go with the RK3. So let's kind of move down here a little bit. You have the Tactical Tula 10,000, which is a mounting rail. This is the one I usually use, just from Skier. You also have a Zenit B33 dust cover, which does the exact same thing as a Zenit, or sorry, the exact same thing as a Tactical Tula 10,000, but you lose ergonomics. So, in my opinion, just don't use this at all. Go for the Tactical Tula. It's a much better option. Below here we have some of the butt stocks here. We have a Beskak, an Armacon Beskak, which is one of the best ergonomic choices. So if you're into ergonomics, this is going to be the one for you. You have an MOE carbine stock, which can be fitted using a ME4 adapter to your AK. We'll probably cover that a little bit more. This used to be the best stock for most rifles in the game, but for the AK series, it's arguably not, and we'll kind of get to that a little bit later. This was recently added. This is the SAS's buttstock that can be fitted on the back of a AK M4 or a Remington SAS. This is a little bit better when you pair it with the Colt Buffer Tube A2 than the MOE stock with the rubber butt pad. A little bit better, but not by much. And finally, the newest addition, you have the recoil pad for the AK series. So this fits on the AK74, the AKS, all the AKMs, the Saiga 9, the PP Vityaz. This thing is incredibly overpowered. You lose a little bit of ergonomics, but you gain a minus 15 recoil reduction. So when you pair this with your buttstock, as you can see, the ergonomics just cancel out, and you get minus 55 recoil reduction, which is a massive difference. And that's why you're going to be seeing everybody in this patch rolling the wooden stock with the rubber butt pad. It makes such a big difference between, especially for an AKM, makes your weapon so much more controllable. We have a few optical choices. You guys have already seen the PSO. OKP7, you can side mount this. You have a Weaver, which is one of the most popular, if not the most popular reflex optic in the game. You have PKO6, which is personally one of my favorites. It's usually a toss-up between the Weaver and the PKO6. All of these optics can be purchased from Skier. The hammer, however, which is my favorite 4X, has to be purchased from Peacekeeper level 3, and it can be fitted with a delta point in the top. A lot of people are confused. It doesn't come with an optic on the top of the hammer. You have to actually buy the delta point separate and attach that to the weapon. Alright, so that's our quick overview here on all the attachments in the game. Let's kind of go into actually modding one of these weapons. So we're going to start off with an AK74. So of course, we're going to be going with our better option here, the RK3. We're going to put on our charging handle because it gives you +1 ergonomics. We're going to be putting on our butt pad. We're going to be putting on, oh shit, we got to actually move this a little bit. Move this down here. We're going to be putting on the PBS4 suppressor for the AK74. We're going to be putting a MOE AKM Handguard on here. And of course, like I mentioned before, our AFG M-Lock. On top of the dust cover, we're going to be mounting it with a tactical tool of 10,000. And we'll just put a UH1, which is a reflex optic that can be purchased, the newest reflex optic, which can be purchased from Skier level 4. So this would be one of the options that I go in with. If I was going to be doing customs, or if I'm on a map where I want to use a reflex, like maybe on the factory, this is how I would typically set up my AK-74. However, if I'm going to shoreline or woods, or if I want to mount this with a 4X, then I do something different. I actually don't bother with any of the reflex, and we go directly with a PSO. The PSO is my favorite optic in the game, and this right here, even though I'm working on getting better with my point shooting, so this right here, overall, I would say would be the most common weapon build that I run, and in my opinion, is the best. All right, so for our AKMS here, I'm just going to do a quick purchase build. So I'm going to show you guys where to buy all these items. So we're going to start off with our Skier. So we're going to go to level 2 Skier. We're going to buy a charging handle. We're going to buy the pistol grip. We're going to buy the tactical tool of 10,000. And as you can see, level 2, you know, you have options here, but you don't get access to the MOE Handguard until level 3. So we're going to buy, I don't know, we'll buy this MOE Handguard, we'll buy an M-Lock. That's pretty good. And let's buy a Weaver for it. Perfect. All right, let's go to Prapor. So for Prapor, we're going to want to get a butt pad. And you can only get the butt pad at level 3. So we're going to buy the butt pad here. And let's go to town. Let's flip out, unfold, and mod this a little bit. So again, we're going to put the butt pad on the folding stock. We're going to get the RK3, charging handle, MOE, M-Lock, and let's get the TT AKM sound suppressor here on there, the DTK. And also, let's throw on a tactical tool of 10,000, and let's actually put on our Weaver that we bought. So there you go. That's how I would mod an AKM this patch myself. So now for the AKS, I'll actually just quickly finish up. The AKS is a little bit different. This is going to be a little bit bonus. I wasn't planning on doing the AKS, but just for the sake of getting this done, let's go to Skier. We're going to buy, now you can do a B12, which hooks in to, I'll actually just buy this and show you guys. The B12, the B18, these are all optical mounts. We'll get the charging handle again, because this is an AK series. These parts do cross over. Same thing with the pistol grip. And we could either go with the Zenit PT3 buttstock, which is a fairly expensive option, or you can just go for the rubber butt pad. Personally, I think you're going to get better value through the rubber butt pad, but you do get some pretty nice ergonomic bonuses, which is going to make your weapon easier to handle in CQB. So this one's a toss-up. If you got the money, you might want to consider going for the Zenit, but it's not going to give you as much recoil reduction. It's going to give you -50 instead of -55, but again, you do gain that 10 ergonomic. But for the cheap, you know, on the cheap, and how I usually run my AKMs now, or my AKSs now, is going for the rubber butt pad. So we're going to do that. And again, we already have a bunch of options here that we can use to mod. So I'm going to throw these back into my stash. Let's grab this AKS. So we're going to go B11. We're going to go with the AFG because we can't put an M-Lock on this. We're going to throw, let's see, what are we going to put on for our suppressors? Let's throw on a TGPA suppressor. We're going to put on our pistol grip again, butt pad, charging handle. And now here's your options. So I personally use no optic on the AKS now. I actually like the default iron sights. Comes from my days playing DayZ. Really a big fan. But if you want to mount an optic, you have two choices with the B11. You can either mount a B12, which fits over top of the handguard, so you can mount an optic that way, or you can buy a B18, which sits above the rear sights, and you can fit an optic that way. Just comes down to personal preference. There isn't actually any difference between what mount you choose. It just comes down to your aesthetics. So like I said, me personally, I actually prefer no optic. I like running it this way. And again, hold that up. It takes up, funny enough, with the suppressor, it takes up almost the same amount of space as a regular AK. Okay, so the final thing we're going to talk about is magazines and ammunition. So for the standard AK74, you have two options here. You have the standard mags and you have the 60 round mags. So the only difference between the two is you have less ergonomics with the 60 rounder. You get -3 ergonomics. I personally don't usually go for the 60s. I will admit I probably should use these more. It's kind of mainly out of laziness that I don't, but I typically just go with standard 30 round mags for my AKs whenever I'm running them quickly. Because like you can negate the -3 additional ergonomics with some of the attachments. You already get a lot of ergonomic benefit with the Moa Handguard. So for the AKM though, you have much more selection here. You have the Palm US AK. These come in stealth gray and also that weird gold color. You have the PMag 30, which is surprisingly not that great, which is a little bit weird to me. You have the aluminum mag, or I think this is the standard mag, and then you have the aluminum mag. Believe it or not, the aluminum magazine and the stealth gray are identical. So they have the same value, and you can get the aluminum mags on the cheap from Prapor. So there's really no like reason to use the standard mag or even buying these expensive P mags. In my opinion, they should make this better. The P mag should be one of the best mags to buy for your AKM, but it is currently not. So that's why I always seem to run aluminum mags, because they're cheap, simple. I buy them from Prapor. Now for ammunition, for the AK, I usually go PS. I'm not going to dive too deep into the ammunition today because this video is already way too long. But very simple for the AKM, PS rounds are good for damage and they have a little bit of AP. BP rounds, which I don't currently have any because they always sell out really quick. Those are the armor piercing rounds. The T45s are similar to the PS, but they're tracers, and the US rounds are subsonic. Now for the AK74, I'm actually going to go to Prapor because there's a lot of options here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. If you don't get lucky and you don't camp the traders, the BS, BT, and BP rounds, all the armor pen black tip rounds, are the best rounds to use because you want to be able to kill somebody wearing a 4 armor very easily. If you don't have access to that, then you have to go with what I call our default rounds. So you have a lot of them here. You have Tracer, PRS, PP, US, and Skier has some as well. Some more unique rounds like HP and FMJ and soft points, which are sold out, I think, right now. Yeah, they sell out a lot. Soft points are pretty good, but my go-to round is PRS because it does decent armor pen, not as much as PP, just slightly not as much. So these are very similar rounds for their armor penetration rates. This does significantly more damage, so you sacrifice a tiny amount of armor pen for increased damage. Like the difference at the end of the day would be negligible. So that's why, in my opinion, PRS is better than PP. So if you use PP rounds, start using PRS. You're gonna have a lot better kill rates, promise. So I know this is a really quick breakdown, but trust me, at the end of the day, PRS, really good for patch 0.5, 0.4, 0.8. It's my go-to default round if I don't have access to any of the black tips. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that crash course on my go-to weapons, my go-to weapons of choice, which are always going to be, for now at least, the AK series. They may not be as good as an M4, but they are my favorite, and you'll see me using these a lot on the broadcast. So hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and let me know your favorite weapons in Escape from Tarkov and your favorite variants. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say.